Now presenting Madam President Pictures. Sit back and roll the tape.
Hello and welcome to Madam President Pictures. Today's picture is a special one, as we're kicking off the debut episode of my film reviews with the legendary director Stanley Kubrick and his film, considered the greatest satire of all time, Dr. Strangelove, or How I Stopped Worrying and Loved the Bomb. Kubrick's career began over at Look magazine when he was in high school. The young Kubrick wasn't interested in school, but in photography, and so upon turning 18, he began a summer job at Look magazine and ended up becoming one of Look's top photographers and a pioneer in the photo essay genre, where his style and tone developed. Kubrick was on the cusp of the height of his career with Dr. Strangelove, and with his infamous film 2001: A Space Odyssey following, along with Clockwork Orange and The Shining. But Dr. Strangelove stands out as the last truly Kubrickian black and white film. I have to give it to Kubrick and black comedy novelist Terry Southern. They really did me in for this one. I have viewed Kubrick's entire filmography, and if you want to watch a satire with an eyebrow-raising premise, I recommend you check out Lolita. I enjoyed Lolita because of the satire comedy aspects of the film, and throughout Kubrick's filmography, I have been picking up on his visual comedy, heavily inspired from his time at Look. Kubrick uses visual comedy like Peter Sellers uses improv. He sprinkles it in, and if you see it, it intensifies the comedy twofold. Just in Dr. Strangelove, we have General Jack D. Ripper, who issues Plan R, Major King Kong, in charge of the rogue bomber plane, the signs all across the army base with the words, "Peace is our profession," as they blow each other to smithereens, and General Turgidsen's folder, World Targets in Megadeth. Among the visual comedy that Kubrick hides for people to look and laugh, we are hit with an onslaught of humor from mostly Peter Sellers and George C. Scott, but all of the actors. I genuinely enjoyed the acting in this film, and it really added to the nightmare comedy. Nightmare comedy is when the worst possible things are happening, and you just have to laugh because of the sheer nature in which the ludicrous is being presented. For instance, when General Turgidsen is offering statistics on the max amount of people killed, his delivery, juxtaposing the situation, makes it hilarious. No way would any decent person want to laugh at that in real life. But in a film, it's so dramatized, you can laugh. You're given a pass to laugh. That's the beauty of the nightmare comedy. Plus, as seen with many of Kubrick's films, his obsession with the worst possible scenario almost hugs the line of absurdity. The underlying principle of Kubrick's film, the thought-provoking analysis that gives the viewer a deeper experience, is largely present in Dr. Strangelove through the use of nightmare comedy during a time of heightened anti-communism paranoia. In an article in the American Quarterly by Charles Mayland, Dr. Strangelove, Nightmare Comedy and the Ideology of Liberal Consensus, heavily describes the anti-communist culture that permeated everyday life, resulting in a general underlying uncomfortability and tension. In the article, Mayland also attributes the ideology of liberal consensus to the success of the war effort and economic prosperity. He states that, quote, "The ideology contains two cornerstone assumptions: that the structure of American society was basically sound, and communism was a clear danger to the United States and its allies." Art history teaches us to look towards the art and entertainment of the time to discover the underlying tones of a culture, and the ideology of liberal consensus is vital to understanding the general mood. Geoffrey Hodgson describes the feelings well. Quote, confident to the verge of complacency about the perfectibility of American society, anxious to the point of paranoia about the threat of communism. Those were the two faces of the consensus mood. With media doing what it does best to relieve anxiety by constantly showing horrifying statistics of the effects of nuclear war, complete with a lackadaisical attitude towards the use of fallout shelters, these underlying tensions and tones caused a counterculture opposed to the hypocrisy but paranoid enough to turn in their own brother. In the current chaos of the world we're living in, with the extreme devastation from climate change and the COVID-19 pandemic, the similarities are unnerving. You can bet that Kubrick would be co-writing a nightmare comedy about the pandemic right now. It seems that counterculture is what Stanley Kubrick embraces as the framework of his films. Maybe he sees an opportunity to show more than what meets the eye by contrasting viewpoints of a common narrative. In his hard-hitting war films, Kubrick seems to frequently explore the role of the demise of man, and in 2001: A Space Odyssey, how technology contributes to the demise of man and the faulty nature of man's natural instincts. Mayland also states that Kubrick has, quote, returned constantly to one of the gravest dilemmas in modern industrial society, the gap between scientific and technological skill and his social, political, and moral ineptitude. Kubrick's fascination with human defeat seems to stem from his lack of faith in the average customer, one who does not seem moved by the large potential unfoldings of nuclear war and an age where having too much technology does more harm than good. It seems to be the same now, in the age of the modern-day consumer, consumed by media and technology, and the ignorance of the vast amount of evidence supporting the current issues we are facing as a society, yet deliberately choosing to be ignorant. Are you seeing the similarities? Impending doom seems to always be the end of Kubrick's films, and it has to make a viewer wonder why he's so obsessed with the notion of inevitable horror. There is something within horror that is so familiar. The fear of the unknown that we all share, or the fear of something horrible lurking around the corner. And when a man is without fear, he might as well be at rest. Fear can make you brave. It can scare the jeepers out of you, or fear can end in complete horror. Thankfully, there are those who make light of the misery and gloom, and Kubrick and Terry Southern create a hysterical black comedy depicting the worst of nuclear war, while simultaneously criticizing an ideology that seems undeterred from such horrific events. And it is glorious.
I hope you've enjoyed Episode 1 in Madam's Film Reviews. This has been a Madam President Pictures production, and we sure hope to see you next time. Take care now.